I met that kid about, I don't know, 2017. He came to TNA.
Yeah.
And I wanted to use him and they wouldn't use him. But I like him then. He reminds me a little bit of Stone Cold.
You told me kind of some of the guys that you see kind of have a big upside or would have a big upside under Triple H that just recently resigned, and you mentioned Karrion Kross and Johnny Gargano. Who would you say out of this new grouping of people that he's brought back do you not see a big upside for, even under Triple H? Like, is it like a Dexter Lumis, a hit row?
Dexter Lumis is the star waiting to take off. I really do. He's got that story with what's that girl's name?
Indy Hartwell from NXT.
He's got the story. He doesn't. People are going to like him. Everybody's going to like him because he's the guy who doesn't speak. And everybody else talks around him. But I think people will really, really gravitate to him, and that little girl helping him. I think you see he's a star in the making. I've liked him when I first saw him in NXT. I met that kid about, I don't know, 2017. He came to TNA.
Yeah.
And I wanted to use him, and they wouldn't use him. But I like him then. He reminds me a little bit of Stone Cold. Just a little bit. So he's not overly big, but you could tell there was something there. There was some magic about him that I feel that they can be manipulated, manufactured. I mean, you can't manufacture magic, but you can take it and amplify it to where it's pleasing to the fans, and once you get him over, you can do anything with him. And I will say one thing about Triple H: he understands the wrestling profession. He understands that it's more than just going in the ring and beating the guy up. You got to tell a story. And Lumis's story, I think, to the wide majority of WWE fans, they don't know Lumis's story. And when they know, and look at all that video they can go through and catch them up to speed. They can catch them up to speed in 2 weeks, and that's not pushing it. So, but and I think Karrion Kross, I think Triple H sees something in him, and he brought Scarlett back.
Yeah.
So when they bring your manager back, your valet back, that speaks a lot just of itself. So hopefully now, and they're getting Kross. This is what I think is going to happen on SmackDown. I think they're getting Roman Reigns ready to turn. So if they get some heels like Kross, get him hot, then they can turn Roman and then hurt him or whatever, let him go out, and then come back and start a big angle with Kross. And I think that would work. So we're not going back to, we've done that before. If you're going back to Brock Lesnar, we've seen it. And we've seen it. Even when they brought him out the last time, we said, again? But that was the only one they had to bring out. And that's attributed just straight up to creative. But creative can only do what Vince will let them do. I mean, I'm not giving them an out, but I don't think they presented Vince with a lot of alternatives either. This is another thing I'd work on in WWE. It's my creative team. And I think what you're going to see more wrestlers on the creative team than writers. Because how can you if you got a football team, right? You got your coaches. You going to have a guy who just writes a column on football? Or are you going to have a former player there that's been through it, that's persevered through it, played it? Why would you have a writer there? And I understand there's a big difference between football and wrestling. I understand that. But even when I was there, it was wrestlers were like almost forbidden from being on the creative team because Vince didn't want them. Because I think he was trying to get away from the old school idea of pro wrestling and try to take it in a new direction. Well, he took it in a new direction, but it's gone way too far. Now, hey, let's go back. Hey, the old stuff used to work. I mean, if you make a good movie, you don't got to have stars. You just got to have a good story. And you forget the stars because the story carries the movie. Right or not?
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't see the actor anymore. You see who they're supposed to be playing.
So I would put wrestlers, not all of them. You got to have some of them to write because a lot of wrestlers, they don't want to write, but they know how to do it. They don't know how to write it down, and they may know how to direct it and produce it. But I'm not saying get rid of all your writers, but they got way too many. Some writers there, I've seen it. I just see them at TV. I don't even know what they did because they didn't ever take any of their stuff at all. They weren't even head writers. They were just, I don't know, they were just hanging around in catering is all I ever saw. Anyway, but that's what I think we're going to see Triple H do. I think he's going to have more wrestlers in more roles backstage, which I think is a huge improvement.
Yeah. And he's kind of done that with the NXT end of things, with Shawn Michaels running things in NXT. He was also running things in NXT UK, which is one of the bigger news stories of this week. That NXT UK is basically shutting down, and it's going to be rebranded into NXT Europe. Would you say that NXT UK, can it be considered a success in a way, or do you think that this is WWE kind of acknowledging that it wasn't a success and they needed to rebrand and do something new?
I think it's almost maybe a combination of both. I think they're trying to make it bigger by rebranding it Europe instead of UK. And did you ever see that show?
Yeah.
Any good? Okay.
It was actually really good. Anytime I watched it, it just didn't really get any promotion to it, and I kind of view the whole rebrand of kind of like the NXT UK house is burning, and there's people burning inside the building, and WWE is like, hey, look at our new luxury apartment over here, NXT Europe. Let's don't focus on the burning building. Let's focus on the new luxury apartment, NXT Europe, because they did fire about 20 or so people from NXT Europe, even people from like France. They only had one French superstar, and they fired them with this closing down of NXT UK. When you're trying to start NXT Europe, you kind of need those different demographics represented. So to fire your only French superstar, it didn't make sense to me.
But don't you think they'll put some Frenchmen on there?
Yeah, they will, but I'm just saying they are holding on to certain talent from NXT Europe. I would have thought Amel, who the person I'm referring to, that is their only French superstar, they would have held on to her.
Mm-hmm. Well, NXT is another entity that I'm not really, really familiar with. Hey, I can only watch so much wrestling. I've watched wrestling all my life, and I'm here. Even when I'm watching SmackDown, I'm going, "Oh God!" But if it's good, I'll watch it. But if it's not good, take a break. Let's go. Go to sleep or do something. And I think that's what SmackDown has been for the last year almost. It's just And the only reason I would watch SmackDown is because of Sportskeeda. They said, well, you kind of got to watch the show I said, do I have to? Dad, I want to. So, but when they do something good, I'm the first to say that they did something good and interested me. But most of the time, they didn't. That was the old creative team, which I think Triple H, I think he's looking for a new direction for all of them too. I think they know it. Cornette told me one time, he says he talked to, I guess it was the developmental in Orlando. He went down there one day and he's talking to him. And have I ever told you this?
I don't think
He
so.
said, oh, I want to ask everybody, how many of you have been in a real fight? He had about 40 people there. Guess how many raised their hands?
2.
2. And they were girls. And I'm thinking, how in the hell, really? And especially a writer, how could a writer even conceive of a battle between 2 guys and he's never had a fight himself? I mean, that was one of the prerequisites you got to have. How many fights you been in, Sid? Actual fights?
Well, I would say about like 3 or 4 in my lifetime.
Okay. I've been in about 20. Because I had to fight almost not every day at school, but man,
yeah, that's where most of my fights were when I was growing up in school. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had a bunch of fights, and I got cut one time and hit the head with a brick and all kind of stuff. I mean, fights on the streets where I grew up, you didn't fight with your fist. You fought with sticks and knives, and because I did a lot of running too. You know, I may want to put that in there too. If a guy pulled a knife, I was gone. But when you talk about a writer, hey, you know, trying to conceive of a fight, it just can't be done. That's why producers are needed and agents are needed. So the only thing a writer can do is conceive of a situation where 2 guys have a problem. And then his job is done. He needs to step out. So anyway, it's too many writers and too many non-wrestling participants backstage in WWE actually to do any difference, I believe.
Yeah, that's what, and that's what we all think, that Triple H is going to get more, going to keep intact more and change around in the WWE verse. But I think that is all for the news that we had to touch on, Dutch.